Hey everybody, Kaysha here. So today I want to talk to you a little bit real quick about Tina Peters' case. So on April 9th, 2024, myself, Maureen Steele, and Ann Vandersteel all went into the state of Colorado to file a petition for redress of grievances. Tina Peters actually also signed this petition. In fact, she actually had exculpatory evidence related to the election fraud that was outlined in the petition that was not allowed to go into the court. The petition was not brought to the floor, and as a result, Tina Peters was unlawfully imprisoned. My father, Dale Richardson, was actually tortured in the state of Colorado to suppress his evidence of treason against the United States, which was based on improper engineering controls which allowed for the spread of the COVID-19 virus, which was likewise created at Wuhan by Peter Daszak and the EcoHealth Alliance with the pathogen, which were handed over to the Chinese by the Winnipeg Biolabs. This created the circumstances for widespread election fraud. My father Dale and I are friends of Tina Peters, who has been politically persecuted for standing up for the liberty of all Americans. And she, as a sister in Christ, has been persecuted like I have for standing up for the liberty of all people. In the state of Colorado, women and Christians are being persecuted on monumental levels, and I'm calling for everyone to stand up for Tina Peters in every way possible, including using the Karis Project action plan to compel the state government to put the petition for redress of grievance to the floor so that Tina Peters can petition before the state house that belongs to the people. And if Colorado continues to deny a Republican form of government, we will implore that Congress and President Donald J. Trump initiate Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution, which guarantees a Republican form of government, to the states, and use that just power to intervene and provide what the Constitution has ordained. The time is upon us to come together and stand united as people, and let the world know that we stand together to preserve this perfect union for all Americans and our posterity. That is why, y'all already know, I'm going to leave you with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who cannot be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as needle to the pole. Men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. Ciao, guys.
Hi, my name is Dale Richardson, and I'm a friend of Tina Peters, and I am calling today for people to support her in every way that they can. I met Tina Peters quite some time ago, and this was after I was in the state of Colorado being held while the law enforcement was going after her unlawfully, and the evidence that I presented or trying to present would have helped keep her out of prison. And I know with the information that myself and others have brought forward, if that information had been presented properly, she would never be in prison. She should never be there. She did what was right, and we need to call on all authorities to go ahead and do what is right. Call the governor, call the state representatives, talk to Washington. On April 9th of 2024, Tina Peters was a signatory for a petition for redress of grievances that was put together by myself and was brought in by Maureen Steele, Ann Vandersteel, and my daughter, Kaysha Richardson. This has been in the custody of the state of Colorado in their legislatures for over a year. They have exculpatory evidence. All the evidence that Tina Peters was not able to put into her court cases, she was able to have in that petition to the state house, which would have exonerated her. She was denied her God-given constitutional right to petition for redress of grievances. And that information that was being suppressed is the reason why she's in prison. I'm calling on everyone today to come out and support Tina Peters. She's a patriot, she's a hero, she's a mother, and she's a Christian, and that we need to come together to help her, not only just for her, but for the entire country and all of mankind. Thank you all today, and do what you can to get her out. Free Tina Peters. I stand with her today. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Karis Project podcast. And yes, we want everybody to stand up for Tina Peters because she shouldn't be in jail. She should not. And so everybody go out and support her. You go to tinapeters.us and find all the information and do what you need to do to get her, help get her out. And today we are back at the red pill stuff. We're going to have a couple of clips that we're going to play quickly before we get in there. Kaysha, you want to kind of ease us into this?
I mean, yeah, there's just still some crazy delusions with the red pill in it. So we're going to end today. I guess we're going to play the clips and then we're just going to give our opinion of it. So yeah, I guess you can get with it.
Okay, we're gonna start with the girls on first, and then we'll get to the guys. We're gonna look at this girl that's talking here. Yeah, we'll get to it.
Would you guys cheat for $100?
Would I cheat for? All right. Is that real?
No, it's real.
Probably. Yeah.
You're for real?
I'm being for real.
Why?
I mean, it's a hundred. Is 100. You know.
To cheat?
To cheat. Dude, you're not marrying the guy.
How do you know?
You're not marrying him. Obviously, if you want to cheat, that means you're not marrying him.
No.
I think
Loyalty over everything.
Oh.
So. All right. Thanks.
You want to cheat then?
Should I? Right now.
Yeah.
First guy, pick him out.
No, you can't do that.
Do you want to? I'm being for real. You just gave me 100.
You're being for real, for real?
Yeah, you gave me 100. I'm being
You're not
for
gonna
real.
see what this means. Hell no.
Honestly, first of all, the girl holding her chest up in the whole thing is killing me because I think she got a tattoo or something, the 777, which is so funny while her friend is doing that right next to her. While she's like, no, you got to be loyal. She's half naked and holding her chest up while saying, nah, girl, don't do that. And she's like, for $100, it's like she's telling her to do the right thing while she's also in view doing the wrong thing. It's like different poisons, two sides of the same coin. We're cooked, man. We're cooked. The fact that the girl's sitting there saying like, you're not gonna marry the guy. $100 is not even that much money. But the fact that you would do it just speaks to a greater problem. And secondly, it's like she did have a point though. If you want to cheat on him, you're not gonna marry him. But you shouldn't even want to cheat on the person that you're with, because if you don't want to be with that person, don't cheat. Don't cheat. Just say, I'm not that into you. I don't like you. Or maybe I thought I liked you, but I really don't. So, this just doesn't gonna work out. You're cool, whatever. Gotta bounce. Bye. I found Sally down the road and I quite like her better. Or Johnny, whatever, the fact that people just go out and do this stuff is messed up. And like I said, for $100 is crazy. $100 is crazy.
Yeah.
And they look young. They look like teenagers.
Yes,
so,
and that's the issue. Now we're gonna listen to and quickly pull up another clip here talking about the differences between the attitudes for sex in North America as opposed to overseas in Italy. Let's listen to it.
Like, as far as a sex life too in Italy, what would you say compares there to America?
No, I think the intention behind sex here is very different than there. Very different than anywhere out of the US. I mean, intentionally here, dudes just do it to do it. People just do it to say they did it. Whereas in other countries, it's more intimate. It's not just this thank you, ma'am, bam, bam, thank you, ma'am kind of thing. It's more of a connection. The men are a lot more romantic. So there's a lot more patience. And there's also a lot more soft petting, caressing, intimacy, just in public, holding hands. Like one thing you'll notice there is every couple walking together is holding hands and constantly touching each other. And that's just so different because when you come back here and you sit at a restaurant, people seem very disconnected. Like even if they're not on their phone, you can see an invisible wall between them. That over there, you know, I was in Florence for a week. I went for sale week. So it's like the greatest week to be there, right? So I'm in there for sale week. I make a friend. I see a girl walking, holding a takeout coffee cup in Italy. And I yelled across the corridor. I was sitting on church steps, just people watching. And I said, "Where'd you get the coffee?" And she looked at me. She goes, "You speak English." And so she was from Toronto. She had just called off her wedding last minute and she was on her honeymoon by herself. And I said to her, a small rule to you, don't walk down the street drinking a coffee. It makes you look like a tourist. You know what I mean? Like you just don't do that in Italy. You go to the coffee bar, you stand there, you drink it out of a ceramic cup like a normal person, and you walk away. And by the third day, we had corralled this huge group of people. Most people were from there. They spoke a little English, but by our last night, we had the whole outdoor restaurant to ourselves, and every single person that came in, it was like being at a family reunion. You got up, you hugged, you stopped. Like it was just this, people are more intimate there. They touch more. And I just think people are very cold here. And the only purpose they touch for is sex.
It's funny.
Yeah, that's something that's so aggravating. I'm sorry, you want to say something first?
No,
I
no,
can't
go
hear
ahead.
you anyway. Yeah. That's something that's so aggravating because especially for women, the physical touch is also an intimate and emotional connection without the, you know, the physical sex. And what she said is important because, you know, it's actually traumatizing to a lot of women. You hear them complain all the time that, you know, men only touch them or their husband only touches them when they want to sleep with them, as opposed to like, you know, hugging or cuddling or like, you know, touches to the face or holding hands or whatever, you know, which is very common. What you see in Europe, in different countries in Europe, that's still very common. Men are a lot more romantic there. And that's something that's very lost here in North America for some reason. Why? I don't know. I was talking about it online the other day. I was like, men don't really know how to romance women anymore. Everything is so vulgar. Everything is so porn brain. Everything is all about sex. You can't do anything innocently with men, which almost makes you afraid to approach that kind of you know, intimate interaction with them in an innocent way, because it's like there's no possibility for it. It doesn't exist, because if you just go there, then people are going to want to be crazy, and that's not normal. I really don't think that's normal, because you should be able to intimately touch people, like, you know, hands, like face, hugging,
Yes.
kissing. That should be normal. That should be normal in society. People need that, actually. You need that. I actually saw a study saying that a human needs 8 hugs a day just to be, you know, normal, just to be like, you know, at peace emotionally. I'm way behind, I might say. I haven't had one.
It also makes people not understand the difference between appropriate and inappropriate touch. Like
That's what I'm saying.
When I was like growing up in a Caribbean background, the concept of personal space is very different in the Caribbean background as opposed to in the general Canadian society. Because, like, I mean, where someone would come up and talk to you, you do that here in Canada, they're like, "Oh, you're invading my personal space." Like, right?
Yeah. What do you want? What do you
so
want?
distant. And if you just touch somebody when you talk, or you know what I mean, they just like, what are you doing, right? So it is very disconnected.
Yeah, what
But
do you want about?
human beings were social, but this creates problems in the way that we do things. So now we're gonna go through this next clip here.
And you know what? Just before you go to that next clip, and it's like in the schools when they're grooming the kids, teaching them about sex, they're not teaching them about innocent touches that are intimate and loving and kind and normal between friends and family and relationships. All they're teaching them about is the touches that are like full-blown sex. So it's like the kids are not even like the stuff that they taught. This is really a good question in my mind right now. if they really think that they're educating kids about how to, you know, be loving and all these other things, why are they not teaching them about
They're not
that?
teaching them how
Well,
to be loving.
they're not. That, I mean, I know they're not, but it's like in their own mind, why have you not considered, you know, holding hands, kissing, like touching face, hugs, like they're doing it on purpose.
Yes, the purpose is nothing to do with love. So that first girl
Yes.
that came on and talked, she was doing some really like lewd behavior. She's not getting punishment, but we're gonna listen to a clip of a girl who is getting punishment after she left doing her OnlyFans. We bring back a clip from Dollar Ray.
You know what I find like the absolute hardest thing to do is forgive. Because you know what's crazy? The 5 years I was on OnlyFans, I barely got any hate. Literally, I was selling my body and I barely got any hate. Like, how is that possible? And then when I become a Christian, stop doing OnlyFans, I get so much hate. Like, where did that come from? Like, now I'm living a great lifestyle, not showing my body, not encouraging people to stumble, not pleasing anybody other than my husband. And y'all are mad about it. My mind is blown, but I have a really hard time sometimes. And I think this is just like human nature when someone continues to attack me with verbal abuse, with like literally trying to say the most horrific things about me, or just outright making up lies to make your story seem better. All I see is these people like Pearl Davis and Andrew Wilson. They're like gossip magazines in the store that you pass on your way to the checkout. You know, it's not actual truth. It's just like people trying to hook you into reading their trashy magazine. That is exactly how I feel about that. Because some of these people have continued since the day I got baptized to dog me and drag me through the mud, thinking that I'm doing Christianity for clout. I'm like, sorry, but when was the last time Christianity was actually popular? Why is it like to you in your head a popular thing? Like giving up millions of dollars a year selling my body, going live on TikTok, being a Christian. Which one do you think makes more money? And you think that for some reason I'm just doing this for clout. Like, newsflash, I've already had the fame before I became a Christian. I already did. I had all the numbers, man. Like, I didn't have to give it up. I'm still young, pretty, and I have the audience. Like, why would I give up making millions a year to do TikTok full time and be married and follow Christ? And you think that's a grift? Like, oh my gosh, like I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know why they don't get it. But yeah, the hate on the internet is getting so strong and it's so sad. We are truly on the end times, you guys. Like the fact that people continue to persecute complete strangers for what? Like Pearl Davis has never had a conversation with me in my life, hasn't even wanted to, and yet has so many hateful things to say about me. It's just like little embarrassing. I would just recommend that any hater out there, like, you guys calm down, just cool off a little bit, because
so you get the point. You go ahead, stop the degenerate behavior. You're getting more hate. But the girl there that went ahead and was like, okay, I'll go cheat for $100. Not getting the same heat.
Yeah, not at all. Not in the slightest. Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy to me. And that's going to be typical. You're going to get persecuted for following Christ. And the way that they got after Nala like that is absolutely insane. Like from the beginning, I didn't like it. I didn't like it from the jump. And it had nothing to do with like, I didn't know her. I never knew her until people started roasting her online. And then I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
Yeah.
It's not reasonable, it's not rational, because you could, like she said, you could be a whole prostitute or a whole OnlyFans girl and selling yourself and nobody cares. But the moment you decide to give it up and try to follow Christ and live a decent life and turn away from the thing that everyone complains about, then all of a sudden you're a demon. And it's like she's not making nearly as much money as she would be doing OnlyFans. There's no incentive for her to quit, honestly.
No, it's
not like it feels good to quit.
No, they're trying to make it they're trying to make it harder for her, incentivize her from actually doing what's right and to keep her doing what she's doing. And
Exactly.
we're gonna bring up a clip here of Myron Gaines talking about girl content creators. So let's just listen to this.
These dudes are making these talentless girls become super rich, man. Because the reality is, right, if you take these women and you take their brains and you put it in a male body, they'd all be poor. Like, bro, literally, take these girls' brains, put it in a male body, these would be in poverty, bro. Because they don't have any real tangible skill sets. They're not entertaining, they're not funny, they're not cool, they don't teach their audience anything. Dudes are just watching because they're simps. So that's what ends up happening a lot of times with this, glorified world that we're in. So yeah, dude, it's absolutely wild. Female streamers suck.
You're not a fan of them.
They suck. Female streamers don't have to be interesting. Like, look at Pokimane. Has anyone learned or gained any value from watching her? No. Has anyone learned anything or gained value from watching No. Like, men have to be significantly more entertaining, charming, charismatic, funny, creative to get half the attention. So there's a reason why most comedians, good ones, are men, right? Women like funny guys. So guys a lot of times will learn to be funny and, get a sense of humor to be more attractive. Some guys get really good at it and make it a profession. But the reality is, like, there's a burden of performance on men. So this is the burden of performance on men where we have to be charming, we have to be charismatic, we have to have these traits to be able to get access, which is why we're put on earth. We're willing to work far harder for it. Women don't. That's why they suck at everything.
I don't know if you want to say anything first.
This is where the issue lies. They're comparing men to women in
That's what I was going to say.
male areas, and they're not the same. They're not. And it's true. A lot of the streamers, the female streamers, they're streaming to pander to a bunch of weak men, and they sit there and they don't do anything, and they're not being incentivized to develop as women, right? When a bunch of men just sit down and simp to a woman and just give her money because she looks good, it doesn't incentivize anything positive at all. It doesn't.
Well, and I mean, I think there's a certain truth to, like, there's true what you said, and at the same time, like, if a streamer is not doing what those girls are doing, they're not, whatever those girls are doing, I actually don't know, but how they pander to the weak men, which, they dress a certain way, they talk about, like, stupid stuff, they have all those kiddish stuff in the background, childish things in the background. No one is really learning anything from watching them, but they're just attracted to them, so they sit down and watch them for the whole time. If you're a woman who actually talks about stuff that is important, that is actually going to help people grow, at the same time, you might not get as much clout as they will, because you're not feeding to, like, a desire of the people. Plus they have TikTok brain, so they're not going to actually want to sit down and, like, listen to all of that. They might listen to you for a little bit because they're like, oh, this person's attractive, but at the same time, it's not feeding their fantasy or whatever. So, like, these girls will pull more views even than the women who are putting out good content, and then people like Myron are not even going to see those girls, and they're going to think all the streamers are trash because those are the ones being pushed to the top by these weak men that have these weird fantasies, which stifles out anyone that has any good value. And then men don't actually get to see the quality of good value that women bring in the area of being women, like streamers or whatever, in their perspectives and stuff.
That's because they're only allowing certain people to come on there, right? And get this platform. So now we're gonna go over and we're gonna bring up some clips of you on the whatever podcast, because yeah. So we're gonna just bring in when you just first came in and talked at the beginning.
All right, welcome.
Hi, I'm Kaysha, and I'm originally from Canada. I'm an American Indian, though. And my occupation, I do a podcast with my father. He's a mechanical engineer, and we exposed in early 2020 the improper contagion mitigations for the COVID pandemic, or the pandemic, whatever, and how it's tied to election interference, treason, and trafficking, and bioterrorism. And so we kind of do that on the podcast. And I don't know if I said my age, but I'm 27.
All right, welcome.
I mean, like they just were like, what? Right? Like that's not like no one on the history of that show has come on.
That show has never
Come on
done
and just
anything like that.
no.
And it's true. It's not even like I'm capping. It's like it's actually true. You know, it's funny because the White House just came out with the lab leaks, the bioterrorism, the treason that's going on.
And everything that we've been saying for the last few years, people today on X have just been hammering, oh, this was intentional. It was I was like,
this was
no
intentional.
kidding, it was intentional. Right?
Exactly. But we were saying it from the jump. We were saying it from the jump.
Yes.
And everyone, oh no, that's conspiracy. Oh, you're crazy. Oh, how does that make sense? Oh, an engineering report is not treason. An engineering report is not bioterrorism. Oh, really? Oh, really?
That's not evidence.
That's not evidence. Yeah, that's not evidence. Okay, ask the White House.
I was like, that's the stuff that keeps those guys from dying. But
Literally.
okay.
Can't make this stuff up, man. And you know what? And the way they were just like, okay. But now, anyways, keep going.
Yeah, let's just take a quick commercial break and then we'll get into the rest of the other clips here. We'll hear from the pillow guy.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited to announce the next generation of energy drinks, Rev 7. It has no sugar and no caffeine. Instead, Rev 7 uses Go BHB. Go BHB is one of the body's primary ketones, and it provides the most efficient and clean fuel that your body needs. It also helps you stay energized all day with no crashes. Not only that, it produces 3 times more brain energy than sugar, which helps boost your memory, focus, and mental sharpness. It also helps reduce stress and helps balance your mood. Rev 7 does all that while being the best tasting energy drink ever. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% today. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7. For a limited time, you get our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. I drink Rev 7 every day, and I absolutely love it, and so will you.
Yeah, so go to mypillow.com /Karis or call 800-845-2942. Use the promo Karis. They've got, you get the energy drinks, the Rev 7s, and they have all the other good stuff there. So go check it out, support a good cause. And there's other ways to support. You can see in the ticker, they have Give, Send, Go. They have a donor box. If you go to the link, all my links at the Karis Project, look in the links in Rumble or Facebook, you will find other affiliate links where they have products and so forth that you could check out and purchase something and merchandise as well. So circling back to this, we're going to come back and we're going to bring up another clip here from the whatever. So let's just bring it up.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
Oh, but women had the most amount of education in those populations.
False.
Women have always done, since public schooling began, better inside of domestic testing and have had better grades than men always have. Not only that, but the feminists of the world, feminists of the world that you're talking about flew all around the world, were highly educated, hung out with aristocrats, wrote books, they got published all over the fucking place. These were not oppressed women. It's bullshit.
Okay, but why are we still ignoring the fact that men are obligated as the leader and the head of the home to control their own house?
Can I answer your question and then can I also ask you a question?
Yeah, I want to understand why we're not focusing on the root, which is men being responsible in their own house. And why are you cucking to your wife's feminist ideology?
I noticed
Is it men's fault, Andrew?
No.
Okay. men control themselves.
I was just going to say that I've noticed in some of the dynamics in relationships in people I know, men kind of just say it's easier, they prefer peace, so they would rather
they
just
cuck.
not.
They cuck in the moment and think that they suffer their family long term for the instant gratification.
Well,
that's what's happening.
What I observe is that they would basically say, kind of subscribe to the idea happy wife, happy life. They,
in the moment, but then long term, everyone suffers. They're calculating the destruction of their own family by their own personal.
I'll tell you why
good
this
feelings
happened.
in that moment.
Because
So
women have been so
this happened because Bolshevik communists came in and
Okay,
they
what about the
went
men
into
in society who
institutions.
decided to stay true to their convictions and their pride as a
but
man?
listen. You can have what's called demoralization of a society. This is part of a communist progression. For most places that they infiltrate, this happened right here in the United States. It's happening in Canada. It's happening all over the West. And what happened was there was an infiltration of Bolsheviks who got a hold of the institutions, and they have been slowly demoralizing the public. There's no doubt that this is true. You laugh and scoff, but it's true.
You should read Anthony.
That's probably why you're a socialist.
Red Scare, yeah, I know.
I bet you're a socialist, huh?
Mao Zedong is my grandpa.
Are you a socialist?
But what's the difference between?
Answer my question. Are you a socialist?
No.
Okay. What? How do you define politically?
Prefer not to state.
Yeah, that's right.
How
You're
do
a
you
socialist.
define? How do you define
the men who decide
Far right wing. It's far on the fucking scale as you can
What's
get.
the difference between the men who decided not to cut and the men who
There's too many
decided to
questions.
bend?
I do actually. Hold on. Do you want to actually give an answer though? How do you consider? Are you capitalist? Are you?
She's a socialist. Come on, just say it. We already know it. The Red Scare.
Yo, they tried to defer so many times. You see how they use the Asian girl at the end of the table because they didn't want to go into it? They were cooked. They were cooked.
That was
Why are you cooking, man?
that was like because there was no solution. They were giving excuses, and men should not be giving excuses. They should. Oh well, they did this and that. So why aren't you doing anything about it? Why are you sitting down, just bending over and taking it raw? Because that's what's happening. I'm serious. Like they're going here and they're debating women and feeling like they're giving themselves a pat on the back. Like, give me a break. Like honestly, when I saw that, I was so angry. I was like, you guys, out of all the girls that come after, they're coming after you. Like.
Exactly. And I was wearing a black turtleneck up to my like jawline, a white t-shirt, a wool jacket. Like the t-shirt was the Karis Project, obviously, and my noise canceling headphones. I was so like of all the people, like, come on, bro. And honestly, they didn't have an argument. And the fact that they used that girl at the end of the table was constantly like really making me angry, because it's like, why can't you just answer the question? Just be reasonable and have a reasonable discussion. Answer the question, stop deferring, and deal with it. Handle your business. But they don't know the solutions.
No, they don't. Now this, I'm gonna have to go ahead and bring this up because this was just really way off base with what they did. And when I saw this, I would come and have a conversation with this guy anytime about this stuff, because I saw what he was doing and it was extremely wrong. Extremely wrong.
My brother, he told me he was watching the stream for like 4 hours, and the whole time he was working out at the gym because he was so pissed. And he said he had to stop at 4 hours because he couldn't handle it anymore. He was so angry.
Yes. Now we'll play this next clip.
And we were exposing different agencies in the area.
What branch of the government did you work for?
The Saskatchewan Health Authority.
Okay.
It's a provincial government. So pretty much we were exposing how like I said, the improper contagion mitigation procedures for the pandemic were used for election interference, bioterrorism, treason against Canada and the United States, human trafficking.
Yeah, we can't get into.
Well,
we can't get into this.
That's that's why I told
we don't
you
need the details about that.
Yeah,
shit.
just the specifics.
That's why I said if you want more
Well,
information.
no, hang
about
on. Just because we can't say those words, those specifics words, we can still at least figure out or try to figure out, because this is wild, right? So we went from you're in a relationship to know you were actually married, and your husband started trafficking members of your family, and your sister is gone and has been gone for years, and you don't know where she is. You could see where we're like, what is going on here?
Like I said, there's a lot. It's not something that you can just explain in like 5 minutes. So like I said, it wasn't a real relationship, and you can leave it at that. And if you want more information, like I said, you can more than welcome to reach out to Dale Richardson on Twitter or his email
All right,
or whatever.
moving on. What about you?
He was so mad. He was so mad.
But you know the thing that pissed me off the most about what he did? He didn't say what you said. He said something completely different.
Completely different. That's
And
not
he-
exactly. I didn't say
He
things.
twisted the
my
words in order to try to make you look like a fool. That
Exactly.
with the sensitivity of what was going on, that was an
Yeah.
completely idiotic thing that he did. Completely.
Yeah. It was extremely idiotic and extremely wicked what he did. Extremely.
Yes. When
And especially now that it's coming out that the White House has come out and said, "Oh yes, these things are true." And I've been screaming this from the rooftops for the last 5 years with my dad and the persecution level that I've received because of it. The White House is also saying that this stuff is true. That's a huge D-bag. That's a huge. You are a piece
ain't gonna
of trash for
age
something
well.
like that.
That is not gonna
No,
age
that's
well.
not going to age well, my friend. That is not going to age well. Because what kind of sick person? I'm sorry. Anyway.
I mean, when I was young, if this was like playground antics, like when I was a kid, that's the kind of thing that somebody would punch somebody in the face for, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
that was dumb.
Because
like, I mean, there was.
Any. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I wouldn't do that now, obviously, but there's no reason for him to say that. But I'd be like, "Oh, you want to debate? You want to debate me over that? More than welcome to, right? I'll tear you apart, guaranteed." Right? Because you want to come and play that after doing that to my daughter in a public manner? Go ahead, right? I was in a space and I was like, well, bring me up. I would go and debate him. Go ahead, right? Let's do it, right?
He would never do that. He has no leg to stand on. But like the other girls were saying some outlandish stuff, that they had experienced, but the guys were just there laughing, kikiing with them, like didn't really do what they did like to me in that introduction, you know what I mean? Like they were disrespectful, but what they did there was a little bit different. The other girl straight up, she was sleeping with this doctor or whatever who was crazy, had like this whole book of all the girls that he slept with or whatever, and she found it. I'm paraphrasing the story, guys, but it was wild and it was scary. I was scared for her that she experienced that, but they were kind of just like, oh, okay, and like asking more details, like intrigued. I was like, you guys are weird.
The whole problem was, why would they try to bring you in there to roast you?
Exactly, that's the thing. Why are you trying to roast me?
Clearly not a feminist at all.
Yeah,
and they're coming at you like you are. So these are guys that are representing on the red pill. Why would you do this? You say that you want to have women that are following male leadership and so forth, but the woman that's actually deferring to male leadership on the show, you're still trying to ambush her and make her look like an idiot.
I think that
so which is it?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I think the whatever podcast has to be at the very top of idiocy, like of all of the red pill. They have to be up there, probably more than all of the rest, more idiotic than all of the rest. And that's a statement, honestly, of the big podcasts. They're really up there, because that's something I've interacted with quite a few of the red pill community. None of them been that stupid in talking to me. None of them. Like, they're the only ones. And it makes me ask a lot of questions. But Brian is autistic, so he treats everyone the same. So I don't know, but Christian, paleo Christian, he's a different level of, I don't know why he does what he does.
There was no need for that. So I'm going to pull up this clip now from Andrew Tate, because when I saw this, I was like, let's just watch it.
And I can't think of anything that a woman adds to my life. People will say emotional support. That's a fucking lie. You go to your fucking chick for emotional support, she just leaves. If you have a problem, the best she can do is say, oh, it'll be fine. Back to Netflix. They don't give a fuck. You know where you get emotional support from? Your brothers and guys.
Okay, that was too much for Anyway, that I mean, that's not true. That is just nonsense. I'm sorry. That is one statement I do not agree. Like, I mean, on top 10 things of dumbest things that he said, this is one of them. This is one of them. That's
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts on that one. Right? Outside of that,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially when I look at what you're doing. That I mean clearly outlines that, but that just demonstrates, if somebody actually thinks that demonstrates the type of women that they have around them. And this is what we're having a lot of the issues with across the board, is that men are looking for the wrong things in women. They're expecting them to be comparable to them as men, but that's not what they're supposed to do. And women aren't supposed to just sit around and grow hair on their head and just look pretty and do nothing other than push out babies. Because there's a lot more to doing that, especially with that responsibility of shaping the minds of the children. They have to have skills that help them to be good parents and good mothers, and other areas which are not there. So, yes. Thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that in our society right now, a lot of people have this idea, and I agree that idea that he has is, it's way off base, because women are exceptionally important. Having a good mother of your children and a good wife that you can collaborate with is important. God made everything and made Adam, allowed Adam to help name everything in the garden so that he could be a part of like that creative process and understand God. And Adam noticed that everyone had a partner except for himself. And he noticed that something was missing, and God gave him Eve and made Eve specifically for him. Like, they were supposed to be a team together. Yes, he's the head and she's the helpmeet, and God literally made her to be his helpmeet. That means men need the help and the support of women. And to say that they don't need that means God is a liar, that God doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't understand what men need or why he created you the way he did to actually need that second half. That is an extreme level of arrogance that doesn't even make any sense. You can't serve a God and believe that you don't need women. And I think that a lot of the people in the red pill would get a lot farther along if they actually had a woman of Proverbs 31 that they could work together with, that on the female end of things was doing what God intended for them to do, and they were putting their skills together, and they were showing in a beautiful way the representation of God and the family unit. That's what people need to see. And if you cut yourself off from that idea of like what that could be and how you could illustrate that, you do yourself a disservice. But it's like those people need to know how to find those people. They do exist. Or maybe they don't want it. I don't know.
I'm going to bring up a clip here quickly, because this is what ends up when they platform women who are doing these things and put this out. It's going to change the way that people look at women.
You feel an element of responsibility for glamorizing that life.
I do. And I really, really try to be honest and open about the realities of this industry.
And what are the realities of the industry that you think people then probably don't know?
That, everyone you know who knows you or even knows of you will think about you so much differently once you start doing OnlyFans, even though you were probably doing this behind closed doors without cameras, without putting it on the internet. People now just have this like
perception,
of you that they didn't have before.
With that, does there come shame?
I've never felt like shameful about what I do, but I'm sure like maybe family members or friends probably feel shameful that they're friends with me.
Yeah, because once it's on the internet, there's no going back. when I was brought up, my dad, honestly, he was so strict on us. I used to be 17 years of age, guys. This is no joke. And he used to buy those, you know, like the breathalyzers that the police have.
No.
And he would, swear to God, he would breathalyze me when I came home. I wasn't allowed to drink at 17. He was like, I think he was a womanizer back in his day. So he was so anti us, like having multiple partners. Like, I promise you, I'd probably be in the bottom of a forest somewhere if this had happened to me. And he used to always say to me, the only thing you have in this world is your reputation, and you come in with the world with it and you leave it, and you essentially create it while you're here. But it's the one thing no one can ever take away from you.
Yeah.
And you seem to have built this reputation that you might not want to have later down the line. Does that worry you?
No, because I really don't see sex as shameful. Everything I've done, I've never regretted. Yeah, I have a lot of sex. I fuck a lot of people, but I don't think that's something to feel bad about.
Okay, so this is where I think that the thought process would be coming in. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the men seem like they're treating you like an object and quite disrespectful. Like in terms of like some of the sexual acts, like when we saw you running around London with the semen on your face, that to me was really disrespectful for someone to do that for you. So it feels like they're being disrespectful for you and not treating you with the same respect that you're enjoying whilst having sex. Does that make sense?
To me, not quite, just because I enjoy having semen on my face. I am always I love holding these big gangbangs. I love doing these sexual acts. So I don't think it's disrespectful for me to want these guys to do these things for me. And I believe that a lot of other girls have the exact same fantasy. They just don't necessarily fulfill it.
But does it actually do it for you though? Because I've seen some of that. You are, by the guy, she's absolutely beautiful. She's got a lovely energy. Like I could line up guys and I could tell you which one you can fancy. Some of the people that you have slept with are enough to make me heave in the corner. You can't be fancying them. They look like they smell, Lily, yeah? So what do? Do you just zone out, close your eyes, imagine it's someone else, pretend it's a paycheck? Like, what is it? Because no matter what you say in this room, there have got to be some people when you think, oh God, it's not you today.
I love pleasing guys that I can tell haven't necessarily had a lot of pleasure.
Right, okay.
You know, some guys will come to me and say they haven't had sex in 10 years. You know, they've divorced their wife and things like that. And I love giving them that gift.
Sorry guys, there's a mosquito in here, so I'm not just swiping the air, but anyway, yeah, go ahead.
When they platform women like this and give them a large platform, and a lot of men, this is what they're seeing, and the women that are doing things, they're not being seen. How is this going to skew the perceptions of women? Right? I mean, because she's doing things that are unreasonable, extreme, and so forth, and engaging in things. And like she said, she doesn't regret anything she's done. She has no shame. If that's the truth, then I would sit down and I'd be concerned, because nobody can sit back in their life and say that they've never regretted anything they've done. Like, if that's really the case, there'd be a serious problem, because we've all done things that were stupid. We're human beings.
Yeah, it sounds like she's saying she has no conscience, which is a more scary thought in and of itself. It's crazy to me that these women get platformed because they get like Lily Phillips was just on Twins podcast not too long ago, and a lot of people are platforming this lady, Lily Phillips, but what the White House just came out said was true. I've been screaming from the rooftops with my father for the last 5 years, going around trying to blow the whistle, ring the bell, giving to different state houses, filing petitions for redress of grievance, helping other people file their evidence and information, like Tate Peters, who's still rotting away in a jail, by the way, for exposing some of the same stuff. Women that are doing stuff like that, they get suppressed and kicked in the teeth. And then they, me, like I'm the bad guy when I'm talking about, like, how on the whatever podcast when they were talking to me about my ex-husband, they were acting like, oh, like, you know, it wasn't what it was. But when it's with the other ladies, you know, it's kind of like, why?
We're going to go to the last clip quickly because we're running up here on time. So we're going to go through this. and we'll just let it go through itself.
All right, let's load the first piece of media that we're going to use, and we'll kind of just listen to it, and then I'll give my feedback on what I think. So let's go.
My dad raised me to understand that men play chess and women play checkers, so that they have a completely different line of thinking than women do. And I didn't really used to like understand what he was talking about, but as I got older, I did, and especially the last couple of years, I see in real time every day men creating circumstances for things that women don't see, whether it be positive or negative. And men are meant to do that, he said, because they are the leaders in the home. So they're supposed to create the circumstances for their family's success. And they do that by chess. And it happens completely unbeknownst to women because we just don't think in that way. And that's a good thing. Like they have a very like a strong ability to compartmentalize and so that they can keep going in difficult situations, hardships that chisel them rather than cripple women, right?
You know what? I actually agree with that. And I think what to take away from that mainly is that as a father or mother, maybe we do have to have conversations with our sons and daughters earlier. And they may not understand it at the time. They may not understand what you're talking about, but having those foundational conversations where you take them through a road of which they can see how a man thinks. Just a lot of the time, men feel like we don't want to speak because we just lead by example, and we just think people are going to watch what we do and then copy, and then that's the job. Sometimes, especially in today's age, where like there's so much other ways in which people can digest information. Maybe we are supposed to sit down with our daughters and say, listen, this is how a man's supposed to be. This is how we think. This is why we think that way. And that building that block early will help your daughters and the mother to the son as well, so that they're not simping. That, like, at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with spending money on your woman and whatever, but make sure she's grateful, make sure she understands, like, and you have your priorities in place before you start doing that. Don't just, because any idiot can have money and just give money away. You have to teach your daughters how to not fall for that trap of, even though he's just giving you money, what else does he do for you? Does he stimulate your mind, your body, your soul? Like, it's those sort of conversations rather than just, oh, he bought me a bag, let me fuck him. Because if you do that, you're just a pussy he can move on to another person from. So you're just something he can just give you money, bang, next person give money, bang. But once you have substance, once you teach your daughters to be able to bring peace to a man, then it becomes a better lesson learned. And the same for men.
And that's what it comes down to. If you have a daughter and you don't talk to her, you will, as a father, she'll try to emulate you and she'll burn herself out. You can't do that. You have to be able to communicate. Men and women think very, very differently. Very much easier to go ahead and lead by example by a son who learns visually and so forth and picks up that way. And when you look at the way what we're having here, the issue that we're having here is the whole way that they're viewing men and women. Men and women need to be treated differently. They're different. And this is what the biggest issue here is. People are missing the mark. And they're being told and acting, measuring each other by the same measuring stick. That's not going to work. You have to have a measuring stick for a woman and a one for a man because they're different. And when you begin to understand the things that women do to complement a man, then you will understand their value. Because a lot of these guys, like, I mean, the whatever podcast and stuff Andrew Paley or whatever, he doesn't get it about women. He doesn't know how to lead by example. He doesn't know how to draw out what things in the women, because the way that he's confrontational with them, that he should understand that women don't respond to that. When you do that to a woman, you're going to push her in the opposite direction. That's what happens.
Yeah, you are. And the level of patience I showed on that show demonstrated, like, with them while they were speaking to me, the way they were speaking to me showed that, like, I was not a feminist. Like, the way that I didn't call them out their name or anything, or, you know, I wasn't really disrespectful or anything. If anything, he called me weak. And I was like, I'm a female. You just call me weak and you're laughing about that? Like, that's crazy.
I'll sit down and say, when people see the level of patience that you put out of a woman, those men, they don't want to deal with it because they know that if you learn that, you got it from somewhere. Right?
Yeah, that's why they kept deferring to other women in the conversation, which is crazy.
And that's the whole problem. A lot of people, the suppression that we receive is because they cannot compete. When men go and do this to other men, it is out of fear, nothing more, because money can't buy what's been done. You can't. It doesn't. It's hard work. And when I hear people complaining and giving excuses, I'm sick and tired of it. Right? I don't want to hear it. This is time to put up and shut up as men and start doing. Right? And if you don't know how, then learn. Humble yourself. Go to God. He'll fix it. He'll help you. And then he'll send somebody to help you. And that's really all there is to it. I'm going to close here with a prayer because we're running up on time. And I'll give you your final thoughts. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you have given us this day. Open our hearts and minds to your will. And Father, this day I ask of you in the name of Jesus to get the men, that we would humble ourselves before God, and that we would lead our families, rebuild our families, and work with the women to rebuild it for the children, and Lord, to rebuild our churches, our community, our nation is my prayer. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thanks, Dad, for the prayer as always. Yeah, guys, this is crazy. At this point, it's annoying because you can't sit down and be complaining about a problem, and you're feeding the problem, complaining about these women, but you're pushing up those women at the top of society instead of pushing up women who are actually trying to do good things that actually will be able to complement the work that other good men are doing. So at that point, you're destroying yourself and you're destroying people around you. So anyways, double down on what my dad said. Shout out to Rules to the Game and everyone else who's doing good things, smart people. Appreciate you a lot. Anyways, thanks guys for your time and considerations listening tonight. We'll catch you guys in the next one. And to my dearest Karis, until we meet again, my friend, and we will.